Welcome to the #Attitudeshield podcast, the true mental operating script rewriting program designed for those looking for a change from within. No more hype or sugar-coated promises. This is to-the-point guidance on how to change the way we think to grab the life we always wanted. Are you ready for the change? Now your host, David L. Parker.
Hey, welcome back to #Attitudeshield. I'm David L. Parker. So excited that you're here. All right. This is I don't want to call it the end, but we're at the fourth place, the fourth spoke of our Attitudeshield structure. The wheel, if you will, the four spokes, the main four spokes. Remember, the first one was absolutely and positively, without doubt, it was belief. It is belief. Without belief, what do we have? Nothing. We can do nothing without belief. Nothing. Might as well forget it. Just be a coin-operated person. Stay in a job. Don't build a team. Don't influence other people. Don't make impacts on anybody because you don't believe anything. If you don't believe anything, you can't do anything. And that's just the end of that. So I guess it's been fun having you here because you have no belief, and we'll see you back here when you have belief. Well, that's sort of harsh. Is it sort of harsh, or is it the truth? You don't have belief, you have nothing. Second one is movement equals motivation. Momentum equals motivation. In other words, you have to get going to get excited about going. They always have it backwards. All you got to do is get your motivation up and you'll get going. Wrong, dummy millionaire athlete. Wrong, dummy billionaire, a big speak head talker. I can manifest myself into a Twinkie person. Wrong. Got to get up, get moving, and the motivation to keep going will arrive, right? Followed by what? Commitment. You're here every week. That's a commitment. You're looking at how you can improve yourself. That's a commitment. You have to find a way to make a commitment that is emotional and powerful. Wait, did I just say a lie? Of course I did. Did you catch me? I just fed you the same sugar-coated crap that you hear from other people. It's not about emotion. It's about being able to make an intelligent decision that will last so your commitment can survive the emotion. You ever made a decision when you're mad? How long does that last? 10 minutes? A day? 2 days? 3 days? How many times you said to yourself, man, I should have never said what I said when I said that when I was mad? You've said it 1,000 times. So again, the first three spokes are belief, knowing that movement equals motivation, and understanding that you must be committed. Now let's move on to the analytical part. The part where I think most people actually fall down because they really, I don't know, they glaze over this. They don't break it down. They don't drill down. See, I think there's two parts to the human, and obviously it's not very deep thinking, but you have the art side and the science side. You have the right brain and the left brain, obviously. But I think many times we get too focused on one and completely neglect the other. We're so focused on the art side. Maybe we're a musician. Maybe we are a true artist. Maybe you're a podcaster or an impactor of people. That's an art. It truly is. It's bringing something beautiful, art. And we neglect the science, the analytics, the true being able to speak on something with some kind of quantifiable information, some kind of true provable facts instead of just, well, you know what? I think if you had peanut butter and jelly on Tuesday, that would make Tuesday a better day. Or watch my podcast. I love butterflies. There's nothing wrong with either one of those podcasts. There's nothing wrong with any of that. But it's the art side. To be able to track down your targets. Remember, I don't really like to use the word goals because every word seems to have power, and the power of the word a lot of times is an acronym that you can see inside the word, and goal just seems like you're going to go out and lose. I'm sorry. I coached football for 20 years. Talk about a good old boy club. Holy mackerel. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Anyway, I couldn't teach everybody, couldn't coach everybody to kick a field goal. And I realized that that's probably not the greatest connection. But the point of it is, a goal is this hard object. Write it on stone and put it in the sand. How about we just jump to targets? You want to make sure that where you want to go is an achievable target. We've talked about it before. No such thing as a goal audience or a goal market. They're target audiences, they're target markets, and that's what you're trying to achieve. Now, to do that, it's just be trackable and measurable, right? Trackable and measurable plan. Trackable, trackable, trackable. Now, how do we do it? We're going to rip off a very smart acronym, and I don't mean it too tongue-in-cheek, even though it just came out that way. SMART. Specific, measurable, agreed upon, or achievable, realistic, and of course, trackable, which sort of seems a little redundant. But to do this, first of all, you got to be very, 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 very specific. Now, you got to be able to drill down. Now, I hear people all the time that are building teams and working towards their future, and they're not specific about their target. Like I was sharing one of my targets the other day. I have some property, and I absolutely love musicians and love music. And I think one of the worst things about the music industry is it's just so expensive or hard for the musicians to have a place to go where they can just jam out, they can get together, they can share and be inspired. So one of my very specific targets is to be able to build a recording studio on the property and be able to invite musicians out here and have big bonfires and let them jam and play and hang out together and see what beautiful music comes out. I haven't decided what to call it. It's a Black Hills musical something, or the Black Hills musical artist something. I'm working on the name. If you have an idea for something, Black Hills, because that's where we are, and then music, that'd be great. But it's very specific. I know where I want to do it. I know how I want to do it. Now, that's a big target. So let's start off by training little targets, shall we? What is a target you want to achieve? Something that's smaller. Now, a lot of times people start thinking about this, they automatically run to weight loss. Fine. You want to lose 5 pounds? No, I want to lose 100. Okay. Specific means to me to Attitudeshield. Simple step. Small movements that achieve a real trackable. Get it? Small achievements that are real and trackable. Small. They build up. Remember we talked about that your success is built on all those little failures that we've had. This big pile of failures becomes the foundation that we pour the success cement over to hold it in place so we can build what we're going to do. That SMART acronym, the S, is still small. So let's say you're building a team. I'm building a team, the Black Hills Regional team. I surely am. Now, my target, right, here we come. We're ending January. So my target for February will be to interview, quantify, and find 4 new team members that are ready to do what I'm doing. 4 new team members. And I'm not talking about podcasting. Don't worry about all that. But 4. That means 1 per week. Or maybe I'm going to end up getting more per week. Now, what specific? 4 is very specific. Now, remember, I didn't tell you that part of making this trackable plan is you have to have one. You have to have the big target, where you're really going. You have to have little targets, things in the middle. You have to have all the pieces in between that keep everything. So if you don't have the in-between piece, you don't have the first piece, you got to back up. Remember I said make it specific. Well, specific means, again, and small, that you have the ability to understand that it's a smaller steps. But what's the big step? What's the end result? Right? Like with my digital solutions company, my end result is going to be 25 offices across the country doing a certain volume. Now, because I do these kind of digital agencies, but how do I get there? Do I make a target of I'm going to have 25 offices, or do I say I'm going to build a team. And then that team, we're going to build the first office, and then we're going to build the second office. You see what I'm saying? You got to make things smaller but specific. What do I need for the team? I need this many team members. This many team members needs this much volume to do this. So it's got to be trackable forwards and backwards. And what I mean by that is you got to know how you're going to go forward. What are you going to do? What are the tick marks as you move forward on your plan? But what are the tick marks behind it that reflect into this side? Now you're saying to yourself, what in the world are you talking about? Well, you got to sit down and you got to make a plan. You got to set a target, and you got to say how you're going to get there. And you got to start small. So everybody wants to start grandiose. I'm going to be a gazillionaire by Tuesday at noon. No, you're not. You're not going to be a gazillionaire by Tuesday at noon if you're not already a gazillionaire today. Sorry, it's just not the way it works. But you can say, this month, I'm going to find a way to add $1,000 to my income, $500 to my income. I'm going to lose 5 pounds. I'm going to read a book. Small and specific is how we get started. Small and specific is how we get started, right? Now, when it's small and specific, it becomes measurable. In other words, it has a unit of measure. I know that sounds silly, but no, it's important. If you're going to add 14 members in a month, then you know that the unit that you're measuring on in SMART is 1, 2, 3, and 4. A person is the measurable unit. If you're going to lose 5 pounds, the pounds are the measurable unit. Of course, if you're going to read a couple books, then the book is the measurable. Or maybe you break it down by quarters of the book or so many chapters a week, but you really got to write this down. You got to build this plan. It's got to be measurable, right? And that's the problem, is we just don't do it. We're too vague. Too vague. You know, you got to be able to keep this thing simplistic, right? You got to be able to have a solid plan that builds on a concrete foundation that has measurable goals, right? Like a bad idea of specific is, I'm going to be a better businessman. I'm going to be a better salesperson. I'm going to be a better student. Those are bad. That's not what we're talking about. Good. A student would say, I'm going to focus on my math grade and bring it up from measurable unit to measurable unit inside this time plan. Business person, I'm going to increase whatever it is I do by a percentage, and then I'm going to make the steps on how to do that. That's the measurable part. See, remember how I said you have that side of the tick marks and this side of the tick marks? The tick marks this way is what you're measuring. The tick marks this way is that which you're setting up to use as your measurable stuff. Now, what is A of SMART? Okay, like I said, I didn't make up the acronym. I just think it's a fantastic acronym. Achievable. It has to be able to be done. If you say you're going to be a trillionaire tomorrow and you have $50 in the bank, that is not achievable. If you say you want to read 50 books by tomorrow, unless you have a USB port in your head, it's not achievable. You know, I'm going to lose 20 pounds in the next week. No, it's not achievable. I'm going to lose 2 pounds. I want to read 50 books. No, I'm going to read 1 or 2 books. I'm going to add 50 team members. No, I'm going to add 1 or 2 team members. Achievable. You want to set yourself up for success. Everybody wants to get all, I don't know what to do. You want to complete your target that is going to push you in the achievable, in the A, but not break you. And then when you get to the other end, when you happen to oops and not get there, you're like, forget it. I'm not doing it. It's too much. Well, if you set it up, then how's it too much? Right? And achievable, if you don't agree to work toward a certain target, then it's not real. You know, they say that a dream not written down is a shared hallucination. Oh, wait, that's me. I say that. Same thing with the target. If you haven't written it down and planned it out, then you're full of it. You're not aiming at all. You're not aiming one little bit. Now, of course, AIM is an acronym, so it's achievable, right? It's also immediate and it's manageable. That's what taking aim for. You gotta knock down the targets that are close and then work your way out down the road, down into the future. You don't shoot for the 4-year target without taking care of the 1-day target. All right, moving on to the R, relevant or realistic. You got to set realistic expectations. I want you to start small here. Maybe you start 1 day. Today, I'm not going to drink any sugar soda. So that's my specific. My measurement is every hour that I don't drink a soda, I'm going to make a tick mark, right? It's achievable because all I'm going to shoot for is 24 hours. It's realistic. I'm only asking you not to do it for 1 day. And you can definitely trackable. You'll know tomorrow at this time if you drank the soda. Yes, that sounds silly. Yeah, or it sounds small. That's the point. People have grandiose plans. They have great big plans. I'm gonna be the biggest YouTube channel on the planet. Yeah, great. How you gonna get there? See, nobody wants to talk about how you're gonna get there. Nobody wants to talk about how we're gonna get there, which is the trackable, which is the time bound, which is the T. The T is the power, the target, specific, measurable, agreed upon, realistic target. That's trackable, time bound. It's not torturous, because T's can be torturous. You know, they got to be small and they got to be able to do it. They got to be something you can actually do. In other words, that time bound, set a deadline for achieving. Earlier, I said I want to add 4 members to the team, and I want to do that by the end of February. That is time bound. It's locked into a piece of time, because time is everything, right? Trackable, you can write it down. You can make the tick marks. You can get where you want to go. You can make this happen. Work smart. Maybe this show will help you get started, because you're going to make your first smart move. You're going to get very specific about something that's small that you want to change in your life right now. You're going to make sure you can measure what you're doing. You're going to make sure that it's attainable. You're not going to try to do some grandiose, wild stuff. It's going to be relevant. It aligns with your principles. It's realistic. It's a reasonable expectation, right? And of course, it's time bound and trackable. When you put all those together, you make this little snowball and you roll it down the hill. And guess what happens when it gets to the other end? It's freaking monstrous. One of the things I highly recommend is journaling. Journaling your adventures, journaling the things you learn, journaling the things that you don't get quite accomplished in the manner that you want to, because that'll help you overcome obstacles in the future. That'll help you overcome the non-trackable stuff. It'll make more things, believe it or not, trackable. A lot of times when I'm talking to a team member and I say, hey, how did you do this? What was the outcome? They go, how did I do it? So I set a target and I went out to do it. What? It's not what I mean. You got to be able to explain your path to somebody so that you can adjust. Now, the last part of trackable, the smart, measurable, trackable plan, is you got to learn to pivot. Without the smart, without the trackable, without setting it down in specific writing, you're never going to know when you're not going in the right direction. You're never going to know when you need to make an adjustment. It's never going to become clear to you that something has to change. They have to be able to pivot. Pivot is a trackable, pivotable plan. TP, trackable and pivotable plan. If you can't pivot, if you can't make a move, if you can't see that there's something missing, something broken, something needing fix in your situation, and you're so focused on one piece, you're going to screw up the rest of the pieces. Here's a perfect example. If you're trying to produce 1,000 widgets, and every day, if you do IPAs, income producing activities that build just the widgets, but those widgets are going down a conveyor belt and falling into a hole in the ground, what good is it to have the widgets? What good is it to make 1,000 phone calls as a salesperson, but no funnel, no customer relationship management tool, CRM, to track what you're doing with them in? What good is it to bring a bunch of people to a system that you can't train them on how to use the system? So you hand them a piece of technology. Can you imagine handing Abraham Lincoln a cell phone and telling him, dude, you got 2 minutes to figure that thing out, or I'm going to shoot you in the face? When you bring a person out of their shell and give them hope, because you show them a way that they may be able to change who they are, they may be able to achieve their targets and reach the life that they want. But you do not give them a way to get there, a trainable method. You do not show them how to do A, B, C, and D. You just talk, you just run your mouth. You're setting that person up for failure. You need to pivot. You need to look at it and go, wait, this isn't working. It's just one of those things that it has to be done. I've owned brick and steel mortar and glass businesses, from little coffee shops, 96 square feet, to 180 seat restaurants, to consulting teams, to running car lots, to the U.S. Army. At one time, I had hundreds of soldiers I was responsible for. You have to be able to pivot. You have to be able to use this specific and measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound, realistic. You have to be able to use those. Doesn't matter if you're in the military, doesn't matter what you do. Those things right there is what drives the whole planet. That's what has to be done. This is the analytical side, the scientific side of making what we're talking about, Attitudeshield, work. If you don't have it, if you don't know how to pivot, if you can't sit back, wait, that's not working. You know what they say, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting a different result. Well, here's another way to say it. Insanity is living the same day, the same way, over and over and over, and expecting a better life. Talk to you next time.
You've been listening to Attitudeshield, your double dose of espresso for your attitude. Check us out on Facebook and on the web at www.attitudeshield.com. Again, thanks for spending this time with us. Between now and when we talk again, keep those shields up, eyes on the target, and always be moving towards your dreams.